So welcome to this webinar, brief guide to ArcGIS. Just a little bit of context about this webinar. Basically, the ArcGIS platform is very large and it's growing every day. There's new capabilities, new tools. And we just wanted to make sure that that you're aware of all the different applications and capabilities that are out there, so that you can use these tools in your own workflows. Okay, so we're gonna go kind of quickly through these slides. Kind of almost like a lightning talk format. But you don't need to worry about taking notes or anything like that. At the end, actually at the beginning, there's a bit.ly link that will take you to a PDF guide that has all the slides that we go over and some additional resource slides. So that'll take you to the documentation for the different applications we introduce. It'll also give you some great blog posts. Those are a great resource of information, as well as interactive tutorials and things like that. So just kind of bear with us. So we have a lot of material to go through, but we think it's really important that everyone's aware of what's available. So I kind of skipped ahead of introductions. I'm Brendan O'Neill. I'm a solution engineer on the nonprofits and global organizations team, and I'm joined by Adam Pfister. If you want to introduce yourself.
Yes, good morning, everybody, or afternoon, depending on where you are. I'm also a solutions engineer on the nonprofit team.
Great, so let's get started today. Let me advance through. All right, so today we're going to be talking about pretty much everything on the ArcGIS platform. We're going to be talking about ArcGIS Desktop, including Pro, Enterprise, and some of the new updates at 10.5 and 10.5.1, and how we treat the ArcGIS server products, its evolution to Enterprise. We're going to talk briefly about ArcGIS imagery capabilities. We'll also cover ArcGIS Online, and then the many apps for the field, office, and community, and we'll round things off with the app builders. And as I mentioned, you can follow the link that's posted there, bit.ly/brief guide ArcGIS. And just to note, this is case sensitive. So just to kind of kick things off, ArcGIS is a complete platform. It can be deployed on premises, behind or on your own infrastructure, on your own cloud infrastructure, or it's available as a service through ArcGIS Online. And it's accessible pretty much on anywhere, any device, anytime, whether it's through the browser, through web applications, native mobile applications, or on the desktop. And when we think about ArcGIS, it has the ability to manage anything. It manages data, maps, capabilities, apps, but also increasingly when we see this WebGIS pattern, we have this WebGIS geoinformation model that leverages identity and groups and roles to deliver the capabilities to the right people in whatever their role may be. And what we're seeing is it being deployed in several different patterns. Okay, traditionally we've worked on our desktops with heavy-duty desktop applications. There was an evolution to distributed server GIS. And where we are now is kind of as an industry as a whole, we're really looking at this enterprise or online pattern where data is abstracted into a GIS portal of some sort and delivered as layers, analytical capabilities, and maps and scenes to different devices. But where we see this going is really this distributed GIS, where different organizations or different teams within organizations have their own GIS portal, their own collection of web layers, web maps, users, roles, and these different systems are connected and talking to each other in this system of systems. And we see this in some of the new technology like the portal-to-portal replication that's come on with Enterprise, and you'll see eventually it unroll to ArcGIS Online as well. So it's a really exciting time in GIS. A lot's changing. When we're thinking about WebGIS and from like an application perspective, we're really looking at ArcGIS Desktop connecting with ArcGIS Online and ArcGIS Enterprise. Your data layers, your web maps are managed in these GIS portals, these web GIS portals, and capabilities and data are delivered through apps. And also, the developer community can tap into these web GIS portals and build their own custom applications on top of them. So we have kind of two deployment patterns where we have ArcGIS apps that we've curated or worked on and are leveraging data coming from online or enterprise, or apps that you build through app builders. And then we have this other pattern of custom development where we're building on top of the investments in data and layers and web maps that are managed in ArcGIS Online and ArcGIS Enterprise. So we're going to walk through in a little bit more detail, not too much more detail, about these different components. So we're going to start off with ArcGIS Desktop. Now, pretty much every discussion we have talking about desktop GIS with ESRI, and people bring up the question of whether ArcGIS Pro is replacing ArcMap. I'd say functionally, yes, ArcGIS Pro is replacing ArcMap. ArcMap is not going away. There's going to be ongoing support. There's still releases that'll be supported for many years after the next release. But ArcGIS Pro is really the go-to desktop application, and there's a tremendous amount of development effort that's being made in narrowing the gap in functionality between ArcMap and ArcGIS Pro. But there's also a tremendous amount of development effort for new functionality like ortho mapping, vector tiles, using arcade expressions. These technologies are only usable in ArcGIS Pro. They're not backwards compatible to ArcMap. So when we're thinking about ArcGIS Pro, it's the desktop application for GIS professionals, that analyst role, that technician role, someone that needs to do heavy-duty data management, publishing. It's a great application that combines ArcScene, ArcMap, ArcCatalog, and ArcGlobe into one application. So you have this 2D, 3D experience, multiple views and layouts, and it's really designed from the ground up to integrate with ArcGIS Enterprise and ArcGIS Online. So to both publish data and consume data to and from the web, whether it's an internal web or the open internet. So when we think about ArcGIS Pro, there's a few key points that I want you to take away. This is your application that you're using for data management, editing, heavy analysis, visualization, sharing, and anyone who has an ArcGIS desktop entitlement right now. So if you're using ArcMap and your organization's current on its maintenance, you have access to ArcGIS Pro, and actually to ArcGIS Online or Portal for ArcGIS. So every ArcGIS desktop entitlement has, you have the capability to download and have access to ArcGIS Pro. And if you're having trouble with that, please send us an email and let us know. We can help you with that. And there's so many educational resources out there. In the PDF guide that you're going to be getting with this webinar, there's a lot of resources there that can help you make that transition, and we encourage you to take a look at those. It's really the time to move towards ArcGIS Pro. So I'm going to turn things over to ArcGIS Enterprise to Adam. He's going to give you a little bit of background on that.
Okay, thanks, Brendan. When we talk about ArcGIS Enterprise, we really see it as a key component in the platform that Brendan was just describing. And it is one of those components that provides you with a GIS that will run behind your firewall in your own infrastructure, on premises, and then in the cloud as well. And it works with hand in hand with your enterprise systems and policies. And of course, you can actually create your own hybrid version of ArcGIS Enterprise if you like, and have some things running in the cloud when some things running behind your own infrastructure. And I just wanted to start out with sort of a primer similar to some of the things you saw Brendan talk about with desktop. Let's sort of talk about that with enterprise. Before version 10.5, we referred to enterprise loosely as ArcGIS Server. Server is still a component. It is a key component. It is a baseline component with ArcGIS Enterprise. But I just wanted to clear up any questions that anybody may have about where did ArcGIS Server go. It didn't go anywhere. We just renamed the package as ArcGIS Enterprise to more accurately describe what comes along with the platform. So new at 10.5 and at 10.5.1, this is something we're working on very hard, the Python API, being able to modularly scale out different components of Enterprise using vector tiles, more support for OGC standards, and then simplified administration. We're also working on things to come in the future, including the utility network components, more access and more control over metadata. And then another big key topic that's going on not only in the spatial industry, but just the computing industry is machine learning and predictive analytics. And we're building that into some core components, which we'll talk about a little bit later, about how we integrate that big data with spatial data as well. And we're also doing our best to try to make it easier to install and deploy. We, especially as solution engineers, Brendan and I, we need to be close to the technology, and we completely understand the need to make this a simple, installable process, right? So we're building things like an enterprise builder, which is really just sort of a wizard to step you through the components of installing Enterprise, what you want to install, where you want to lay everything down, and the builder will sort of take care of the rest for you. And under the hood, we're using Chef to do that, to sort of prepare everything. But you can also make your own Chef recipes, where you can sort of cook up the components that you like within your own infrastructure and then deploy that so you have your own baseline install that you can administer and maintain. Of course, we're always looking to improve the quality and performance. And with that, there's a new extension that will be coming out soon called ArcGIS Monitor, which will give us a better insight into the health of and administration of your system. So some key components, some key ideas about Enterprise. It's a full data management, analysis, and mapping system. Again, it can work on-premise or in the cloud, and you can make it scale, and you can only use components that make sense to you. So you see on the diagram on the right-hand side, Portal is kind of your your access and management point, right? You can control users and groups. It's where people collaborate. But really, that portal is being powered by the GIS server. You see those two components in the same color there. The GIS server is integral. It is the core component, and it powers all the services. And then there's some optional server roles that you may choose to implement. Image server gives you access to raster analytics and managing image data. You can serve that out, process it, do some analysis, extract values on massive collections of imagery, rasters, and other remotely sensed data. So the two capabilities that you get with image server are serving these dynamic image services and doing that in raster analytics. With Geo Event Server, you're able to take in streams from real-time data. So you enable these event-based data streams to be brought into your ArcGIS Enterprise system as a data source. And from that, it can be filtered, processed, sent to different big data stores or other geodatabases. Just about any type of streaming data can be brought in. There also is a development platform. You can build your own connections that we may not support right out of the box. And all in real time, you can set this up so that data streams right into your system. And then sort of complementing that Geo Event server, and these all work together, is that Geo Analytics server in the bottom right-hand corner. And what that gives you is this distributed computing vector-based feature data analytical engine. And you can analyze big data, or you can just take it to sort of beef up your own traditional desktop workflows. And you can do that within Pro, and you can bring in different types of data streams from Geo Event server, mash that up with image server information, and then you can build that all into workflows that can be analyzed on the fly, or you can send off and distribute that workflow across massive amounts of servers to get a job done very quickly. So you can use that as just a few use cases. If you have emergency calls, millions of them accumulated over decades, you can do things like which areas had the highest rates of emergency calls, or what are the most popular locations for taxi pickups in a major city, and how does that trend over time, right? How's that trend weekly or monthly? There may be patterns that we expect to see, but then again, there may be some things that pop out to us that we're not really sure that we didn't see coming, right?
All right, so I just wanted to take a second to talk a little bit about imagery. Adam already mentioned, or he talked a little bit about image server, and that's really a key component to serving out imagery in a kind of distributed enterprise way. But really, when we think about ArcGIS now, it's a full imagery platform. We not only have the ability to manage and serve out this data, but there's also powerful analytics that are built into this. I don't know if any of you have been working with the new raster function capabilities in ArcGIS Pro. They can also be shared out to image server. But really, we're able to do this dynamic processing in memory, so we don't have to write commit, take jobs to process through GP tools, so we get immediate results for the algorithms and models that we generate. So we can see those and iterate. We can create those persisted models or those persisted data sets using maybe some of the raster analytic big data distributed processing capabilities. But really, this dynamic image processing model is something that we're seeing. Working with the data as a raw or in its raw form, and then applying raster functions on top of that, and doing and rather than processing the entire raster, only processing what's visible and what's needed as you're working with it. So this is all delivered through ArcGIS Pro and also through Image Server. But then we also have some other capabilities that are delivered through Drone to Map. Some of the ortho mapping capabilities, being able to generate LiDAR point clouds from drone imagery. So it's really democratizing imagery in certain ways. We're able to work with larger amounts of data at higher resolution. And one of the other things that we're seeing is this pattern. See my next slide. Of using image server with massive image catalogs. Okay, so so think of Amazon S3 buckets or Microsoft Blob storage. Storing all your imagery there in its raw format, and then sitting ArcGIS Image Server right next to it, and using mosaic data sets to index this imagery and do some of that dynamic image processing, or being able to leverage those raster analytic capabilities with the distributed processing. We're doing that with some of our own data that we're serving out. So for a couple years now, we've had the entire Landsat catalog that's accessible through the Living Atlas and other parts of the ArcGIS platform. We've included some new image services like sea surface temperature, global sea surface temperature, that's dating back about 20 years, I think. We have the NAPE imagery catalog, and I'm really excited to announce that in the fall, later this fall, we'll have the Sentinel-2 catalog accessible directly through ArcGIS through the Living Atlas there. So we're actually using our own image server technology to serve out these different views of the raw imagery that comes from those different sensor platforms, whether it's Landsat or Sentinel-2. So let's pivot a little bit into ArcGIS Online. So a lot's happened in ArcGIS Online over the past 2 or 3 years. Some of the things I'm most excited about: smart mapping. Those smart mapping capabilities that are the data-driven on visualizations have made their way into 3D scenes now. ArcGIS Online now supports vector tiles. These are really exciting. Being able to cook out tiles and generate different renderings of your data, whether you're looking at local labels for local languages for your labels, or possibly looking to display different representations of your data for disputed borders, for example. You can control all these things through vector tiles. There's increased support for OGC. So recently we had WFS services come on, and also WMTS services that you're able to actually work with your ArcGIS services and convert those to those OGC standard services so that you can plug them into different applications. I'm trying to think of what else is interesting. There's been a big update to administration, to item administration, the items page, and the user administration, and then there's a lot of other advancements that you'll see in the resources section that we won't get into here, but arcade expressions, for example, and also hosted feature layer views, which are quite exciting. They allow you to do a lot of new things and expose your data and capabilities only to the people and in different roles. So when we think about ArcGIS Online, it's a GIS portal, right? It's secure, it's cloud-based, it uses identity, it uses groups. It's also it's a map viewer, a GIS client in the map viewer. You can work with 2D data. We also have our 3D GIS client in the scene viewer. It delivers analytics as well. There's a lot of new analytical capabilities in ArcGIS Online, including the ability to join tables. So you can join your data directly up in ArcGIS Online. And we mentioned with the imagery, we have all the content from the Living Atlas of the World that's delivered directly there. So you have access to thousands and thousands of layers, whether they're imagery, demographic data, things like that. There's also a host of apps that are accessible through there. So a few key points for ArcGIS Online. It's really tightly integrated with ArcGIS Pro, and it also is integrated with all the other applications that we're going to be talking about later, whether they're the applications in the field, the office, or community. Identity and sharing model is really important, okay? Because when we're dealing with organizational GIS, it gives us the ability to deliver only the data and the capabilities that are appropriate for the different roles in your organization. And I mentioned we have these new arcade expressions. This is kind of the hot off the press stuff. You're able to build expressions against your data that will alter the way that your pop-ups, the way that your data is rendered, the symbolization, the labeling, and even the rotation of your symbols, all through creating these really simple expressions that are you can actually perform them in Pro, and they'll be carried up into ArcGIS Online, but you can also add them directly in the map viewer. And I mentioned these hosted feature layer views. You can create these new views without duplicating information. So you have your underlying hosted data set, and then you can deliver, say, just a query view of your data to one group of people, and then just a editing view of your data to another group of people while maintaining that single underlying data set. So with that, let's turn it over to Adam to talk a little bit about apps for the field.
Okay. So using all the things that you've gone through in desktop, serving that out with Enterprise, working with it in online, another key aspect of using these data and services is using that information in the field. And with that, we've worked very hard, especially in the last year, maybe year and a half, to really modernize some of our applications to make sure that they work on the devices that our customers are telling us they use the most. And this helps everybody reduce their costs and maintenance and overhead. If they can just deploy a configurable application using one of these apps in the field, they can improve how they work in the field, reduce the redundant data, improve the accuracy in how they're collecting data. And then these apps, almost all of them work together, right? So if I want to be able to navigate to a certain spot and collect data, I can use two applications and open one from the other and link back to each other. But at the same time, depending on how you want your field data collectors to operate, you can just use them all separately as well. So with that, we're going to talk about a couple applications. And what I'd like to start with, perhaps Brendan, you can navigate to the next slide for me.
Yeah, there we go.
Thank you. Is just looking at how a common picture of how we might operate in the field. And I know this may be different for everybody, and everybody has their own aspects of it, but we all kind of follow the same buckets, right? We plan, coordinate, we navigate, get out in the field, capture the information, and then we bring it all back and monitor what's going on. And through that, you can plan using ArcGIS Desktop, an application that allows you to coordinate with people out in the field. Could be workforce. You can deploy the work plan to people, put a new item in, make sure everybody has the right items for the day and scheduled properly using workforce. And then, like I mentioned earlier, if people need directions on where they're going to get to complete the work, Navigator can be linked to give them turn-by-turn navigation. And then once they get in the field, a couple apps they could use, Survey123, Collector, as well as Drone to Map, allow for really high-quality data collection and to do that very rapidly. And then coming back, monitoring this as it's going on, the operations dashboard is a great fit for sort of an overall view to get a picture of how this is all going and make sure your field operations are running smoothly. And for our talk today, what I think we would like to just talk about are two applications, Survey123 and Collector for ArcGIS. So let's start with Collector. Collector is an application that is available from the App Store for iTunes and on the Google Play Store. You can download it if you like, and you just log in with your ArcGIS Online account. Once you log in, you'll see all the web maps that are available for you to start collecting data with. It works offline, and just fairly recently they improved the ability to connect an external GPS and collect high accuracy information coming off of that GPS receiver. So you could be out in the field, use the GPS receiver on the phone or the device itself, but you can also collect high accuracy from a precision-based equipment and bring in that information very quickly right into the map and collect that data. Some of the new things that are coming or just recently released with Collector, in addition to collecting that high precise GPS data, you can actually collect the metadata coming off the receiver as well. So if you have a hosted feature service running in ArcGIS Online, you just simply check the box that says, give me all the available metadata coming off that GPS receiver. And there's another template that's available called the ground control template. You can use that for control point collection if you're doing things like collecting aerial drone imagery. That'll help you get up and running very quickly if that's part of your business workflow. Also, Brendan mentioned arcade expressions are very fast, easy, powerful things to write and to use, and they will be coming soon as available in Collector. So things you could write in ArcGIS Online when you're authoring a pop-up or different fields, that information will just ride along into Collector. So just to make it easier for the people out there collecting information in the field. And let's talk about Survey123. This is another field data collection app available on both the App Store and the Google Play Store. You can also download it and use it on your machine as well. The difference here between Collector is that this is a form-centric field data collection app. And what I mean by that is very simply it uses a smart form standard called XLS form, something that is an open source standard. It's basically the idea where you open up Microsoft Excel and every row is a question in your form. So you can see on the right-hand side there, we've got inspection date, asset ID, photo, action required, and location. Each one of those questions is a row within an Excel spreadsheet, and you have options in how you display that question to the person collecting data. If it's photo, they just want to tap to take a photo or choose one from the library. If there's action required, they just tap yes or no. They're not actually typing yes or no. They're restricting the data input options so that we collect data that's all standard. And you can analyze the results immediately. You can bring in information as it's being collected. And you just think about the workflow. You can use Survey123 on your desktop to author this using Excel. You can publish it out. You download the app on your mobile device, start collecting information, and then on the web, you can log in to your Survey123 survey and see the results that are coming in. So you're analyzing that data right away. You can see that on the left-hand side, I've got a dashboard view of who's answering the questions and a bar chart, a pie chart. You can view them, a map of the data, and some count of the responses coming in. So that's pretty powerful, and you can be involved in that, do everything on the web, or you can do some combination of how you collect the survey on the web and on your desktop. There's also an early adopter program, which we encourage a lot of people to take advantage of. The Survey 123 development team moves very quickly, and they love to get user feedback and make those adjustments quickly if there's an issue or if there's a new feature that a lot of people like to see implemented. We'd encourage you to check that out. And just recently that they released this new custom print template option that lets you take a Word document template, upload it to your survey, and use that as a way to print out results so you can customize the reporting that comes out of your surveys.
All right, so let's transition a little bit into apps for the office. We talked about apps to the field, Survey 123 Collector, and then mentioned Navigator, Workforce, Drone to Map. And we'll talk a little bit about Operations Dashboard in this section. So basically, when we think about the category of apps for Office, these are apps that you would use in your workplace at your desk, on your desktop. Some of them are delivered as desktop applications, and then some of them are delivered through the web, through a browser. So when we think about these as well, they're not in the same category of, say, ArcGIS Desktop, even though they're applications we use at our desktop. A lot of these applications are suitable for other people in our workforce. Okay, so you don't need to be an expert in GIS in order to make a map in ArcGIS Maps for Office. Okay, and if you have some kind of data science background or data visualization background, Insights for ArcGIS would be a great tool for you, even though you might not have a degree as a GIS technician. And then ArcGIS Maps for the Adobe Creative Cloud, for example, maybe you're more into the graphics and the branding of your organization, but you still want to have access to the maps that your organization is curating. You can use that plugin to bring in all the ArcGIS services you have directly into Creative Cloud, where you can use them in Illustrator or Photoshop, for example. So ArcGIS Earth is a great little application. I feel like people either don't know about it or they haven't really explored it yet. It's a desktop application, super lightweight. It's a small install. It supports both file-based and feature-based or service-based workflows. Only file-based with KML at the moment, and it's super easy to work with. The product manager for this, he has, I think, a 5-year-old, and he's the QA/QC tester for the user experience design on this. So it's really easy to use, and there's some great little tools there. It's a free desktop app, so you can download it. And then if you want to leverage it to use your own ArcGIS services, then you can log in and bring in all of those layers that you have in ArcGIS Online or ArcGIS Enterprise. It also supports using KML, or you can bring shapefiles directly into the app and visualize it on that globe. And you can bring in all those great services that we mentioned earlier in the Living Atlas of the world. It's also a great application, desktop application for those who are maybe working in secure environments. They're behind a firewall, because it's an install that you put on your machine rather than being delivered through the web. We do have the web visualization capabilities directly through the scene viewer and some of the app builders, the 3D app builders, but this is a standalone desktop application. Another tool that's a little bit more, I guess, industrial strength for 3D is City Engine. For those of you working in the planning space, City Engine is a great tool to generate new designs and actually share out your 3D models of cities or other environments. They don't necessarily have to be cities, to the web or into other platforms. So, for example, if you're doing any any kind of exploratory virtual reality environments in Unity, City Engine plugs in nicely to that. We also have a great new app called ArcGIS 360 VR that allows you to take your 3D scenes from City Engine and drop them into a lightweight VR viewer app that's delivered through the Gear VR. So all you need is a mobile phone in order to get those immersive experience from your 3D models. So a few key points about Esri City Engine. Essentially, the bread and butter of it is you're able to use these procedural rules to generate 3D representations of two-dimensional data. Okay, so you could have a city plan, for example, with attribute values for different buildings, building heights, number of floors, etc. And with these procedural rules, you're able to generate realistic 3D representations of that two-dimensional data without creating individual models for each building. So you can build cityscapes in a matter of minutes and hours rather than, I don't know how long it would take you to create a cityscape. So if any of you attended our UC, this is the tool that was used to build the city in Zootopia in the Disney film. The other thing about City Engine is it's well integrated with the rest of the ArcGIS platform. So if you generate these 3D scenes, you can publish the files that can be brought in directly into ArcGIS Pro, or you can publish these out as web scenes where they're consumable in ArcGIS Online and Enterprise and other applications. And as I mentioned, you can create these 3D scenes and push them out into other applications that can generate VR experiences like our own ArcGIS 360 VR or applications like Unity. ArcGIS Maps for Office is one of my favorite little tools because it's so easy. You can essentially take any spreadsheet with a table that has any geographic value, whether it's a coordinate or an address. This could even be at the country level, and you can generate a great looking map in a matter of minutes. You could even do some light spatial analysis directly in the application, directly in Excel without moving outside into an ArcGIS product. And you can port these maps directly into your PowerPoint presentation. So you can generate these interactive maps and push them directly into PowerPoint. So it's a free download and it works as an extension to Office and PowerPoint. So if you go to the website, download it, install it, you'll be able to work with it there. You just have to sign in with an ArcGIS identity, whether it's Enterprise or Online. You can generate maps very easily with spreadsheets. And when you've generated these maps, you can share them, either the layers of the web maps themselves, directly up into your GIS portal in ArcGIS Online or Enterprise, and it's accessible through the entire platform, whether it's Pro, the apps we've been mentioning, etc. Insights for ArcGIS has gotten a lot of attention recently because it's a great new application. Where you'll hear the acronym EDA or ESA thrown around, exploratory data analysis or spatial analysis. It's super easy to use. It works from these workbooks, pages, and cards. And I really like to use it if I get a new spreadsheet of data with some geographic information. I'll drop it into Insights, play with the different attributes, visualize it as a map, a chart, and the table. And it really gives you the ability to explore your data and then actually share out your analytical workflows as well. So some key concepts with Insights. It works with spreadsheets from Excel, feature layers that are published to ArcGIS Enterprise, geodatabases, enterprise databases like Oracle or SQL. So Postgres will be coming on, I think, later this year. Or possibly early next year, but you'll be able to integrate those Postgres databases with Insights. It also works with big data stores like Hadoop clusters, for example. When you're working with data and Insights, it's divided in these workbook pages and cards. These cards have different types. They're tables, charts, and maps. And it really gives you the ability to easily visualize your data and share out the different analysis you do there. Just a note, it is a separate app that sits on top of ArcGIS Enterprise right now. So you need to have a base deployment of ArcGIS Enterprise 10.5 in order to implement insights for ArcGIS. At that point, it's accessible directly in your portal. So if you signed into your portal for ArcGIS, you'll see a little button at the top. You click it, and it'll take you into the Insights environment. So it's accessible through the browser, through your ArcGIS Enterprise portal. However, later this year, it will be available in ArcGIS Online. That they've been working really hard to get that out. So keep an eye out for an announcement on that. We also have ESRI Business Analyst. It's been around for a while as a desktop application and a web application. It delivers loads of demographic data, whether it's lifestyle or just traditional demographic. You're also able to create these really cool infographic reports as PDFs from either the data that's provided by Esri or your own data. One key point about Business Analyst is it's now available as a mobile application as well. So if you go to your Google Play Store or Apple Store and you search for ArcGIS Business Analyst, it will be available there. So there's always new demographic data that's being incorporated, so it's relevant, it's new, and there's some new capabilities now with being able to perform suitability analyses. So you actually have some pretty robust analytical capabilities right there, and that great smart mapping technology that's available in ArcGIS Online is available there as well. Geo Planner is another tool that's delivered through ArcGIS Online or ArcGIS Enterprise. It's great for doing scenario assessment, so generating different scenarios in 2D and now in 3D as well. And one of the great new things about Geo Planner, I can see then bullet point 3, is now it includes this suitability modeler. So it allows you to do weighted overlay analysis using Esri image services that are there, but also you can bring your own imagery into Geo Planner, and you get this great suitability modeler tool where you can adjust the weights of importance for different layers that you're using in order to perform your overlay analysis. It does require an ArcGIS Online subscription in order to access, and it's purchased through the ArcGIS Marketplace. A new app that just came out last year is the ArcGIS Maps for Adobe Creative Cloud. This is really geared towards those people that are focused on generating artistic representations of maps, or they're more in the design phase rather than the data analytics or the really hardcore GIS data managers, things like that. And it basically just creates a connection to your ArcGIS Online environment. It's a free extension that works with Photoshop and Illustrator. In the resources, there's a link to the download for that. It just is an extension to Photoshop or Illustrator, so you go in there, turn it on like any extension you would. Then you sign into ArcGIS using your online account, and you can bring your data layers directly into the Creative Cloud application as vector layers. So this is great because your GIS analysts, the people that are doing the heavy data management and analysis, and your people that are more on the creative side doing the design work, active in branding and information products, then they can work from the same assets. There's no need to transfer and upload and bring it in. It streamlines that process. So lastly, we'll just talk about Operations Dashboard. Adam mentioned it earlier in conjunction with the field application. So this is that desktop application that is a component to those field applications, so you can get a real-time view of what people are doing in the field, the information they're bringing in. But it also has the ability to bring in live feeds. So it's great for generating that common operational picture for all of the workers in your organization. You're able to configure different views depending on the charts and widgets that you want to bring in there, whether it's a gauge or summary statistics, etc. So Operations Dashboard is also free with an ArcGIS Online account or a portal named user if your portal instance is at 10.4 or higher. You can design views for multiple monitors. So if you're in a control room, you've got a setup. You can create multiple views there, or you can do single display views. So if you're just intending someone to consume your maps, charts, and widgets through one visualization, you can. Now, previously, the multiple monitor views were only accessible through the desktop application, and that's actually how you authored your operations dashboards. It's how you author your dashboards. So from this downloaded application, that's the status quo right now. As of 2017, the end of this year, we're going to be able to build those multiple views through the web. Okay, so Operations Dashboard will no longer be a downloaded application, a standalone application on your desktop that's connected to Online or Enterprise. It'll actually be built directly in as a browser-based application. So that's exciting. Keep an eye out for that update later this year. All right, so let's turn it over to Adam again for apps for the community.
Okay. So we've talked a lot about how to work with data, publish it, use it in a lot of applications that may make sense to a lot of us as GIS professionals. But historically, I think this is something we like we can joke about it now since we've gotten better, but historically, we haven't been that great at communicating that message, right? We haven't been exactly the best storytellers. So in the past couple of years, we've worked very hard on how we actually communicate our work and make that communication process easier for our users. We want to be able to share all this amazing work that we want to enable you all to share your amazing work that you're doing that really enables the community that you're trying to serve. So citizen sciences, crowdsourcing, engaging with people at their level, at their local level. That's really what we want to hit with these types of applications and services. Things like story maps, ArcGIS Hub, which is formerly known as Open Data, and other crowdsourcing-based style applications. So let's talk about story maps. This is something that you need to know if you don't know already. This is it's taken off at an incredible rate. The statistics are remarkable, but how many people are using and creating story maps each day. They give you the ability to tell your story with a narrative in mind, right? Get that message across. There are 11 different templates that are constantly being updated. Some are being retired because the style isn't used anymore. They're still available, but they won't be as updated as frequently anymore. New templates are being developed, things like the Cascade template. It's an immersive scrolling type template that allows you to put text and full screen video and images all side by side, because we realize that while while we love maps, everything doesn't need to be a map, right? So you bring in the information that is going to help drive that story to your users or to the public. And then you have a console, a web-based console that you sign in, and you can manage all of your stories, right? The My Stories console. You can see what you've published. The console will tell you if there's any problems with the services that are involved, right? Maybe you're making an app and you think everything is okay, but actually these 3 services won't show up to the public because they're not shared publicly, right? Then you can make a decision on what you want to do. If you want to share those publicly or make a view that is a publicly acceptable view, you can do that too. So that console is great for helping you get a bird's eye view of everything that's going on with your story maps. And really, there's only 2 bullet points here, but I did that on purpose, right? Because you need to engage your audience and you want to inspire them. Those are the 2 things that really hit home with people that create effective story maps. Is people will go through and they'll read something and they'll read it all the way to the end, right? And we want them to click on that last section or that last slide. That's the call to action, and get them to actually do something. So as you create your story maps, keep those 2 key points in mind. And I just included a couple examples here of annual reports. And I thought this was a really good example to show and to talk about, because traditionally annual reports aren't all that exciting, right? They're a 100-page PDF that people may or may not read, or may have trouble downloading in their inbox because the file size is so large. But we're seeing people actually put their annual reports into story map form. And you can see that on the left, the Southwest Power Pool is creating a story map and using the Cascade template. And they're talking about who they are, who their members are, why this is important, and maybe their plan for the next year. And then on the right-hand side, the Pennsylvania Horticultural Society is doing the same thing, but they're using a map journal template. And they're talking about where their members are, right? Here are all the people that we're serving, and this is what's important to us, our mission statement, and this is what's important to the community that we're trying to serve. So keep that in mind as you create, go through the data process and the analysis. Keep in mind, how you're going to communicate that end result. And it could be a story map that you create that doesn't get shared publicly, but it's shared with your boss or with your department to try to build some momentum internally for something that you want to have to get done.
I got it.
Brendan, I may need your help.
Yeah, I think we have an issue with that thing. It's all good. There we go.
All right. So let's talk about ArcGIS Hub, and we have an image trying to run out of the slide there. So like I mentioned earlier, ArcGIS Hub is the product formerly known as Open Data. Open Data didn't go anywhere. It's just been renamed, and it's still a function of ArcGIS Online. It's literally something you check a box to turn on, and it becomes part of your organization. And it's something you enable. So you take data sets that you want to make public and share as open data in different open formats, and you put that into different groups. So you have complete control over what gets shared publicly and what doesn't. You can leverage that investment that you've made with ArcGIS Online already to help you connect to your citizens. And this is something that lets citizens really figure out the data sets that are important to them, things that matter to them. So you can go through, and ArcGIS Hub allows you to create essentially a website, a series of websites or pages that all can connect to each other and that are data driven. This may look a little imposing, but it's really just dragging and dropping components onto a page to figure out how you like it, and then you style some text the way you want it. It can inherit the branding of your organization, the colors and the logos. There are different widgets that you can drop on the screen for images, just text. If you want to include charts or maps, you can bring those into the page as well. And this is all data driven, right? So as the data changes quarterly or daily, you don't need to make any changes to your site because they're all pulling from those same services. So those services will just see the updates. And if you have a summary statistic or a couple of statistics on the page that people check every so often, they give them a report on what you're doing. They can see that information change in real time. And here's an example of one that we've created related to the Sustainable Development Goals. And you'll be able to, this is a public site, you can check that out. But we took the Sustainable Development Goals have some very rich icons and imagery that we wanted to bring in and include an image of our own there at the top to show everybody how they connect to these goals around sustainable development. So I just customized the site with a little bit of HTML and CSS, and if you know a bit of that, you can take it to this step if you want. Otherwise, you can just use the out-of-the-box tools, and you can really get people to rally around your initiatives, things that matter to them the most.
All right, so we're kind of running out of time. I want to leave some time for questions at the end. I didn't mention this at the beginning, but if you do want to post a question, you can. And we will have some time at the end to go through those and discuss. But this is the last section we're gonna talk about on app builders. So we talked a lot about applications that ESRI has created. So ArcGIS Pro, ArcGIS Online, ArcGIS Enterprise, and all the server stack. We talked about apps for the field, apps for the community, apps for the office. So these are ESRI developed apps. We listen very closely to our users, identify the key workflows, and develop applications so that we save people time. in their day-to-day business. But sometimes we need people, or we want control over the capabilities and the data that and the style of those capabilities, and deliver them to our users. We want to have a little bit more control over those. So we've also developed a set of app builders that can help us do that. So rather than we already have our APIs and SDKs that are exposed for developers, but we've curated a set of configurable app templates, and also developed a tool called WebApp Builder and App Studio for ArcGIS, so that rather than getting into custom code, we can actually just configure these things. So they're really exciting. They're really powerful. You're able to quickly generate web or mobile applications without any coding at all. Okay, there's a lot of tools out there that that can help you deliver those capabilities. The first set of tools I should say, is the configurable application templates. I don't know if you all are aware of this, but there's several ways of accessing it, but the easiest way, or the way that I generally do, is when I've created a web map, and I've saved it. I've got my data layers. I've got it styled appropriately. I got it looking good, in good shape. You can just click the share button from the map viewer, and you have access to over 25 configurable application templates. And these templates are designed to be specific to workflows. Okay, so they might be used for editing data. Okay, so you port in your data layers for others to edit. So you share out the application to the users that need to edit it. Or maybe you just wanted to generate some sort of summary, some data based on a selection or the map extent of the data that you're presenting to your user base. Or maybe you want to bring in public information, Twitter feeds, Instagram feeds, these types of things. So there's a whole set of applications that deliver these capabilities and these functionalities. All you need to do is whip up a web map and share it out, and you can configure these things really quickly. So they're part of ArcGIS Online and ArcGIS Enterprise, or formerly Portal for ArcGIS and ArcGIS Server. You can configure them very easily, and you're able to create these interactive web-based information products. So the other tool we have is WebApp Builder for ArcGIS. It's a little bit different, right? So with the configurable app templates, they're kind of prescriptive, right? They're designed for a specific purpose. Whereas with WebApp Builder, we can use the theme, the visualization, and the widgets that we want. So we build it from the ground up. You're able to do this directly through the web, or you can also download the developer edition, and rather than just add the widgets you want, you can generate your own widgets. And there's a huge user community right now that are developing these widgets that they're freely available to the public. So there's kind of two models. One is just configuring these from scratch, configuring these as is with the different themes and widgets that are available through ArcGIS Online or ArcGIS Enterprise. But there's also the developer edition, where you can build your own widgets and capabilities from scratch, or leverage the work of the massive community out there. So there's a lot of different themes, a lot of different user interfaces, and there's a lot of different capabilities, whether it's analysis, querying, downloading. I think there's around 30 or 40 right now. And one of the things I'm most excited about with WebApp Builder is this new dashboard theme. So you get some of the dashboard capabilities that you've seen traditionally in Operations Dashboard. Those have made their way into WebApp Builder. So you get a great web mapping view, but then you can incorporate different widgets, different panels, that it's highly customizable, really easy to create and configure. So I highly encourage you to go out and check out that dashboard theme that's available in the WebApp Builder standard to the web. Lastly, I wanted to talk about App Studio for ArcGIS. This is a great tool for the developer community out there. Essentially, what you can do is develop your application once, leveraging the data and layers and web maps from ArcGIS Online or Enterprise. So you can develop this once in Qt, and then you can push it out. You can publish the binaries for several different platforms. So this could be Android, iOS devices, it could be Windows, Linux. So basically you build it once and you can deploy to all the different platforms. So it's really easy to get your applications up into the Google Play Store or the Apple Store. There's a bunch of templates, a bunch of samples that are available and in the resources. I encourage you to take a look at that. So those are more geared, the Git repo and the samples are more geared towards the developer audience. But there's also a lightweight web builder that's accessible, and you'll also see that in the resources, where you can choose from a few different web templates and really easily generate these native mobile applications that you can deploy to your organization or to the public through the app stores of all the major platforms out there. So that's an exciting tool for the developer community, but also useful for kind of the GIS person who might want to get an app into the app store. So that's about all we had planned for today. I know it's a lot. We kind of sped through. We hope that it was valuable and just kind of exposing you to all the different tools that are out there. Whether it's desktop, enterprise, online, the different apps for the field office community or the builders that we went over there at the end. There's a lot out there. A lot of it you probably have access to and you may not have even known about it. So we encourage you to visit the link bit.ly/brief guide ArcGIS. That'll give you the PDF document with the extra kind of behind the scenes, the resources that'll guide you to the documentation, which is extremely helpful. And then also relevant blog posts, books, learn lessons, etc. There's a wealth of information out there. And we're going to try to evolve this document as well. I think there's a lot of great material there, but as we come across new materials, we'll try to update it. So if you hold on to that link, maybe check back periodically, and we'll be sure to include versions of it there so that you can get kind of the latest version. So Adam, I don't know if you had any closing remarks we can take a look at, see if there's any questions in here.
No, I did ask in the chat if anybody had questions to feel free to submit them in the chat panel or using the questions panel.
Okay, yeah, it looks like there's no questions right now, so okay, then we can probably wrap things up. So thanks everyone for joining us. Again, I encourage you to check out the PDF document. If you have any questions, feel free to email Adam or I. We will be making this recording available. We've been recording this webinar, so we'll send out an email with a link to that, so that if you want to share it around to any of your colleagues, you can. Just wanted to thank you for joining us, and hope that it was an informative and valuable session for you all.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah.
And we do have more webinars coming up related to the sustainable development goals, or it's just sustainable development in general. So please keep an eye out for those as we tweet them out via our ESRI nonprofit Twitter handle or on Facebook too.
That's a good mention there. The next one is coming up is September 21st. I should have put that on there as a link, but we have one on September 21st dealing with program planning. So using GIS to plan efficient programs. Yeah, you can search ESRI SDG webinar series as well, and that should pop up a link where you can register there. But yeah, feel free to reach out to us as well. All right, everybody, take care. Enjoy the rest of your day or evening or morning, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.